Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Arm channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to talk about how much protein you need to build muscle. Before I get into this topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. If you need coaching, I'd love to work with you. Check out the link down below. All right, how much protein do you need to build muscle? There was a video recently by Dr. Mike and Menno Henselman, and it got mentioned on Team Massive, and you can check out Team Massive at teammassiveiron.com. And it brought up the topic again, how much protein do you need to build muscle? What's a reasonable intake? Now, one thing that triggers me, and I'll explain why, and I use trigger loosely, is when we start to tell individuals, tell lifters that they need a certain amount of protein based on their body weight. This is misguided for a number of reasons. Number one, if you're underweight, it's going to advocate that you intake less than you probably should be eating relative to your maintenance, your caloric maintenance level. If you're overweight, it's going to advocate that you eat an incredible amount of daily protein, and you probably need to lose a little bit of weight to begin with, but that's beside the point. But tacking on a specific number of grams per body weight, per pound of body weight, is really an archaic, really an old school, really a dated method of doing things. It really lacks a bigger picture focus when we look at dietary intake. The one thing I tell individuals, and I'll explain this a little bit, for men to set a minimum of 150 grams of protein per day, and women probably around a minimum of 110 grams of protein per day. Now, this is a minimum and a red line. I'm not telling you you should aim for that. This is, if you go this low, you probably need some dietary adjustments. If you're an average man and you're struggling to get in 150 grams of protein, there is a very strong chance your diet is filled with a lot of crap food, a lot of extra processed food, fast food, junk food, or whatever. You're probably overstuffing yourself with a lot of junk carbs, white sugar, white flour, deep fried food, or just plain crappy junk food with a lot of extra nasty fats. Same thing for a woman. If you're struggling to get to about 110 grams of protein, you probably need some dietary adjustments. We're not talking about eating clean 100% of the time or anything ridiculous like that. But if your protein levels are struggling to get to 150 grams per day for men and 110 grams per day for women, you probably need to comb through your diet a little bit. So these are kind of minimums. Now, instead of tacking on the number of grams of protein based on body weight, we need to look at a couple things. We need to look at your metabolism, and we need to look at dietary balance. If you're a man that takes 4,000 or more calories to gain weight during a bulk, eating 150 grams of protein, or somebody telling you to eat 150 or 170 or some arbitrary number of grams per day, just isn't going to make much sense, especially if your body weight is rather normal. It might be advocated that you eat 140, 150, 160, 165 grams of protein based on your body weight, but then your calorie intake to bulk might be 4,000. And you can see this is a little bit unbalanced, and it's a little bit OCD. We need to focus on more reasonable goals, more reasonable balance. Assuming someone's not in a cut, and that's a topic for another video because we're talking about bulking and building periods here. For the average man, keep this in mind. It's probably very reasonable to aim for 170 to 200 grams of protein per day. You can go upwards of 220, 240 if you want, if you like eating a lot of protein. This is a more reasonable goal to aim for, and this will be plenty of protein for the average natural lifter if they are trying to build muscle. Staying somewhere between 170 and 200 grams, you're going to be fine for your entire lifting career. But if you want to eat more, there's no real downsides at all. This will also be better for dietary balance. You won't feel so carb and fat centric. For women, you probably want to aim about 120 grams of protein. That's pretty reasonable. Depending on your metabolism, you could do 130 or 140. If you're in the zone where about 80% of your food intake is reasonable, healthy, whole food choices, and about 20% is, borderline ice cream and Doritos and French fries and that sort of thing, then these ranges are perfectly fine and they're going to suit you perfectly well, regardless of your body weight. And that's the thing we have to remember. We don't need to tack on how much protein we eat based on our body weight. You guys need to focus on a reasonable amount of protein. There's no need to way eat protein to the point where you're trying to get 240 to 300 grams per day. That provides no inherent benefit other than if you like protein, eat that much, but it's not going to expedite gains. If anything, it might make it more aggravating to eat on a daily basis because getting in that amount of protein can be very, very tedious. So if we look at the average male that intakes about 2,600 to 3,000 calories a day, or maybe a little bit more, let's say the average male, about 3,000 calories doing a bulk, 750 of those calories would be 25%. That would be about 187.5 grams of protein per day. I don't think 25% is an unrealistic goal, but we don't need to get into percentages. But you can see if you start to go below that, your diet becomes very unbalanced and you're forced to eat more carbs, you're forced to eat more fats, and that's okay, but it tends to make us eat more potatoes, rice, complex carbs, that sort of thing. You're gonna build muscle just fine staying with that 150 red line and generally keeping your protein about 170 to 200. You're gonna be absolutely fine. And for a woman, as long as you're training hard, that 110 red line and trying to aim for 120 and over. There's no need to overcomplicate this process. There is no need to tack your protein intake onto your current body weight. There is no need for complex formulas. Just to be reasonable, consider quality, dietary balance, and sustainability. That should be your main focus. And avoid all the nonsense, arbitrary formulas that continue to pop up in the muscle building world. Always remember, if you train hard, you train consistently, and your diet is reasonable, and your bulk aligns with your goals, meaning you're gaining weight slowly over time, and most of this is quality muscle. The panic and fear that's in this industry that you need to micromanage protein intake down to the gram is really exceptionally silly and unnecessary. So always remember, keep that red line minimum, 150 grams for men, 110 grams for women. Try to bump it up a little bit higher than that just for the sake of dietary balance, and you will be perfectly fine. No need to panic or micromanage. So guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.